Do we believe that the gospel is indeed the power of God? And that is the power of God unto salvation. Do we believe that? Or do we believe that there is something more that people need? Do we believe that we need to graduate from the gospel? Do we believe that the ills of our society and the great problems that men and women face need something more significant than the gospel? God forbid.
Preach the gospel, share the gospel. In our schools need God. Share the gospel. In our courtrooms need God. Share the gospel. In the hospitals, our hospitals need God. Share the gospel.
We need bolder and spirit-filled Christians like this NFL linebacker, Demario Davis. In this video, we shared how God miraculously brought Demario's daughter back to life after suffering what he called the worst epileptic seizure.
A lot of people don't know this, but on Friday, my daughter, she's 4 years old, she had her third epilepsy seizure attack. It's my same daughter who survived retinoblastoma, and she started to foam at the mouth, and it was her worst seizure. For 30 minutes, she seized. She wouldn't come, and we had to call the paramedics. Got to the hospital, and my wife told me that my daughter stopped breathing in the car twice.
But in this new video, Demario went deeper and challenged not just Christians with massive platforms, but every single believer in Jesus Christ to courageously and unashamedly share the gospel of Jesus Christ, which has the power to save sinners. Indeed, we need Jesus in our schools, hospitals, government, and the country as a whole.
Well, I wasn't going to preach today. I wasn't going to do that. But if I didn't, then I would not be being obedient. I told the Lord before today, if I went back to the podium, that I would make sure that I praised him the proper way. The last time I was up here, God did an extraordinary work through me. It exceeded past myself and into and around the country. And with that, I owe proper praises to God. It had nothing to do, very little to do with me and everything to do with him, so I have to be obedient. So first I will update everybody on my daughter. She had a phenomenal week. She's doing great, a full bill of health. She's doing phenomenal. As I said before, that knock at the door was answered. And God came in and did a wonderful work in my family. The reality is, when you see a message go around that strong, it's a lot of people that are out there hurting, and it's a lot of people who are waiting on a knock. And I want to continue to reiterate, your knock may not come right away, but to be patient and to wait on the Lord, and he will do what he said he'll do.
Amen. Our God is faithful, merciful, and gracious. His word reminds us in Isaiah 40, verse 31, that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Our blessings or healing may never come how we want or when we expected them. But if we trust and wait upon the Lord, he will give us the strength to persevere through adversities.
Another thing was, there was an overwhelming amount of support just from fellow believers and Christians around the country. I want to thank them for that. And I think the phrase that is used oftentimes is, man, that's awesome what you're doing with that platform that you have. But at the end of the day, that's what we are to be doing as Christians. That's what we are to be doing as believers, is sharing the gospel. Preach the gospel. The word says, for I am unashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God to bring salvation to all who believe. It's the power of God. And that's what our world is needing. That's not just talking about salvation for the spirit. That's talking about salvation for the soul. People who are hurting, people who are going through present day situations who need healing and need God in their life. And only the power of God can save them. So what I want to encourage every Christian, not just Christians with a platform, preach the gospel, share the gospel. In our schools, Our schools need God. Share the gospel. In our courtrooms need God. Share the gospel. In the hospitals, our hospitals need God. Share the gospel. Preach the gospel. It is the power of God that will bring salvation. And I can't be the only person that feels like our nation needs salvation. And I think that's why that message was so powerful and spread, is because people are looking for salvation. So share the gospel.
Amen. Indeed, we need God in our country. For many years, America has gradually moved away from acknowledging God as the source of our lives and everything we own. And God makes it clear in Proverbs 14, verse 34, that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach, a disgrace, or shame to any people. Anyone who believes that we don't need God or prayer in our schools and culture should look at these statistics and see what has happened to America since we removed prayer and Bible reading from the classroom and replaced them with humanistic and satanic ideologies.
Let's look at some charts of what has happened in America since prayer and Bible reading has been removed. Look at this chart for morality. Birth rates for unwed girls, 15 to 19 years of age. Look what it was in 1963 before biblical reading was removed. Look at it, it has tripled. Okay, look at this chart now, violent behavior, violent crimes, the number of offenses since 1963 till 1991. And by the way, the current stats are even higher. But look at the number of offenses. It's gone tenfold since Bible reading and prayer have been removed from the public schools. Look at this chart, our educational achievement. Our SAT total scores have dropped from 980 in 1963-62 when the Bible was removed to 910. Look at that downward spiral since the Bible and prayer have been taken out. Look at family stability. Single parent households where the female is the head and there's no spouse present. Look at the rise in one parent homes. Look at morality. Sexually transmitted diseases. Look at the chart. It's unbelievable. It's like a rocket shooting up here. Look at this, from 1963 all the way up to 1990. Well, look at, folks, there's no doubt what the results are when we attempt to remove God and His law, His word, and prayer in our public schools. This is what happens.
A pupil is not above his teacher, but everyone, after he has been fully trained, will be like his teacher. It's simple. It makes sense. Whoever's your teacher is your discipler. You cannot separate education and discipleship. Whoever is educating our children is discipling our children, which means whoever educates the majority of children is discipling the majority of children. From K through 12, children spend 14,000 seat hours in school. Let me say that again, 14,000 seat hours in school. The average Christian family spends less than 30 minutes per week discussing spiritual matters. Government education was established around 1870. I'm surprised at how many people don't know this. Modeled after the Prussian format, rooted in secular humanism. It was opposed by American Christians for decades. First 50 years, the church fought tooth and nail against compulsory education and against government education. Fought it tooth and nail. They knew better. As late as 1900, still 2/3 of all high school children were educated at home or the church. As late as 1900, still 2/3. Listen to this from Alexis de Tocqueville. As late as the 1830s, it was noted in America that education was everywhere in the hands of the Protestant clergy. And the first question everybody asks is, how can you educate your own children? Why? Why? Because the system wants you to be a slave. I'm a free man. My children are mine, not wards of the state. The government has no jurisdiction over my children.
America is headed in the wrong direction. While we are thankful that men like Demario Davis are using their platforms to share the gospel,
America doesn't want to hear your thoughts on Jesus. And, keep that stuff at home.
Please pay close attention to what he says next.
It's awesome that you love Jesus. Love Jesus all you want. Just don't have to do it publicly. If you would just keep that stuff, talk about your fight. People don't want to be preached to.
we are saddened more and more Americans do not want God in their lives. While Dana White thinks people don't want to be preached to, but they desperately need to hear the gospel because, apart from Jesus Christ, their souls are in jeopardy of hellfire. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delighteth in their abominations. I also will choose their delusions, and will bring their fears upon them. Because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not. Isaiah 66, verses 3-4. May the Lord help us to lovingly and courageously share the gospel of Jesus Christ to the lost and dying world. Amen. Please help us spread biblical truth. Subscribe, like, and share. God bless you.